I am Doug Friedman.
And I am Meredith Levy. Already laughing.
And this
is your mental breakdown.
We are your co-hosts, licensed psychotherapists, and longtime friends. And what else are we?
I think we're both a little tired, just a little. So this might get a little loopy, just so you guys know.
We're still recovering from this past weekend. We had daylight savings time.
Okay, let's just talk about one of my favorite days, if not my favorite, of the entire year, maybe besides my birthday. But I have it circled on my calendar every year. I go through and I find it. It's a whole thing. There's a whole thing with daylight savings. And I just want you to know that a lot of people think that it originated because of the farmers, and that's not true. It originated from Benjamin Franklin. And it wasn't implemented because of him, but he initially came up with it, this like concept of it, blah, blah, blah. It's been a whole thing because then it was like reinstated during the war. And then cities and counties had they could do whatever they wanted. And then it got all fucked up. So the Industrial Revolution came, train schedules threw everything off. So that's why they created like the time meridians. And then they said each state could decide if they want daylight savings or not. But you have to do it by state. Hawaii and Arizona, we all know, don't have daylight savings. And neither does much of the rest of the world.
Okay, so I've heard the farmer thing, but I've also heard, I don't know if it was like Winston Churchill or somebody was like, give us more daylight time to go hunting. And then it became about energy conservation and that none of that really applies anymore.
Well, it's give us more daylight time to work, basically, was what it was.
Right.
And like to do things. Right. I don't care. I love it. I want it to stay late forever.
I mean, the whole construct of time is man-made.
It's bizarre.
It's ridiculous in some sense. It's also absolutely necessary. I've said humans' greatest invention is keeping time. I mean, if we didn't have it, it would be great because we wouldn't worry about alarms waking us up, or we wouldn't worry about the pressure and stress of getting somewhere on time. But in the same regard, how would we ever like connect with people and meet? How would we get to the same place at the same time if we didn't have time?
Yeah. Oh my God. Speaking of, I was going to say, how would we get to the airport?
Uh-oh.
I flew on a plane.
You flew on a plane?
Yeah, it was crazy. Oh my God. Also, this is what happens when I'm tired. We just hit last week, the 1 year anniversary mark of the shutdown.
That's right.
And this week,
there's more. I
can't believe I have so many things to talk about. So many things. This week, in LA at least, indoor dining opened and movie theaters at a very small capacity. I think movie theaters might be like 10% capacity, which I would say that I would like to basically be in a movie theater full of 10 people. I'm fine with that.
Wow.
Yeah, actually the AMC Century City something else opened on Monday.
I want to say that's wonderful, but it also makes me really nervous.
Totally. Well, I'm vaccinated. You're not, right?
Correct. Are they going to require people like showing their vaccination card to get into a movie theater or into a restaurant?
No, I feel like that is like really illegal to discriminate that way, but I'm not sure. I guess kids in schools have to like show their inoculation or whatever it's called.
Well, they've had to do that for quite a while for other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Same difference, right?
Right.
I do feel invincible now that I've completely gotten vaccinated, but I try not to show off.
Right. I just avoid people.
Well, you do that anyway.
Right.
Well, now that you're officially back in LA.
Yeah. I can't just be the man in the mountains.
How's that going?
It's different. It's an adjustment. I mean, anybody that's ever gone away somewhere and then come home, you're gone for a few months. Everything's different. And for me, I'm not coming back to my home. I don't have a home. I'm staying in a home, and LA is home, but it's just different.
Yeah.
It's also a pandemic. It's weird. It's not like we're, in spite of LA reopening, it's not like we're meeting up with friends and having brunch and having game night at people's houses. Yeah, I've been avoiding people and hiding out and making good friends with my TV, which I feel like has been neglected for a while. So I'm rediscovering some television. And I know you've given me some recommendations recently.
Yeah, it's weird. We don't talk about shows that much, which I find strange. So now every episode, I'm going to make sure that we do. I'm sorry. If you guys haven't seen it, I mean, you have to shush. That's the name of a show. Yeah, I'm sorry. I love it. It is so freaking funny. Oh, Ted Lasso. I didn't think I would like it because I thought it was like about sports, but it's kind of not. It's kind of sweet. It's like a Friday Night Lights meets Seinfeld, or it's not even about, it's about soccer. I don't know why I said Friday Night Lights, but I like it.
Interesting. All right.
What do you got? What are you watching?
What am I watching? Documentaries on science and nature and smart people.
Super
things.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Totally not. Honestly, I'm watching a lot of YouTube live performance clips of bands that I like.
What?
Yeah. There's a band I like called The Head and the Heart, and they put out a performance in Seattle at Pike Place. And I just saw that. That was fun. I don't know. What am I watching?
Don't think too hard.
I saw The Vow. That was fun.
That's the only thing you have mentioned in the past 2 months about watching. So we need something fresh. Okay.
I hear there's this medical show called Grey's Anatomy. I might start watching that.
Oh, shit. This is the 17th season.
17? Wow.
Yes. My sister and I were like, holy shit. We've been watching this from the start. This is crazy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's wild to think.
Wait, speaking of, did you see Bridgerton?
Bridgerton? No, what's that?
Shonda Rhimes.
Oh, wait, that's the Shonda Rhimes period piece, right? That's like set in Renaissance times or whatever it is.
You haven't seen it?
No.
What do you do all day, Doug? Jesus Christ.
If you want to talk Avengers movies, I've seen all of those, like twice. Like those I can talk about, probably more than twice.
Well,
Bridgerton, I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Ted Lasso. I got some work to do.
Yeah, you do. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Speaking of work to do.
That's right. Drew's doing some work.
Drew's tired from working, so we'll jump into that. That's how he starts out the session.
We will. Let's let him jump into it, and then we will jump back onto it with you. And well, man, we when it gets late for us, and it is not late right now, but we are morning people.
This is a real shit show, but you know what? It's us, so hey.
That's right. It's what you get.
Yeah.
And we will be back to give you more of what we got in just a little bit.
I don't feel great right now. It's just the full work days that are killing me right now.
Yeah. How's that been going?
I've looked at it as a 9 to 5 this whole time, and now it's just kind of becoming more of a burden than anything. Financially, I need it right now. And so I'm still in the mindset of like, I need that job, but hopefully I can get a little more clarity after tonight of what my timeline looks like, which will make it a lot easier to be like, okay, I'm only here for 2 more weeks or 6 months or a year or whatever that looks like. It's the not knowing right now that's not allowing me to kind of get my head into it.
We've talked before, like when you've made moves and made steps career-wise, and you said pretty early on, this is just a 9 to 5. I'm just doing this for a little cash. I'm just doing this for now. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to be doing. Clearly not who you want to be doing it for. Okay. It's my for right now. And if you had anything else to go to, I feel like you would.
Yeah. I'm in a position where my dream job is kind of on the horizon and I can kind of see it. And so I'm in like a limbo mode almost where I know it's coming and I have a job right now. It's just more on me to pick myself up by the pants and put my head down and work. And that's kind of what I'm doing at this 9 to 5. It's like, just get through it almost, which sucks to say. I hate saying it like that.
Oh, it's funny because that just get through it. You've said that about a few things in the last few months. And some of them, it wasn't necessarily true. going back to your breakup, going back to, well, we could even say the pandemic, like just get through certain things, right?
Right.
But there wasn't really a through. The way you're describing this is, no, it's a bridge from A to B, maybe from A to C. I mean, the bridge is B, whatever it is. It's okay. I can do it for a short period of time while I've got this other thing going. And I know it's not my main thing. So that makes it easier.
Yeah. I think it makes it easier to not get as emotionally attached to it. And that allows me to kind of separate my social life and my work life. It's like I haven't even been interested in it. And so it's like, it's just a job. It's okay. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's kind of in the middle.
I believe you when you say it's okay. I think a part of that is knowing that it's just the B, it's just the bridge. No, it's my 9 to 5. And when I'm out, I don't care about it the same way I cared about other jobs. When I'm out, I'm out. I'm done.
And I think that's why it's been frustrating. I'm trying to set those boundaries right now. And it's funny because now that I'm trying to set boundaries, and some people I'm finding don't respect boundaries. And it's a crazy thought that I haven't really thought about yet. I'm trying to navigate that as well, which has been very interesting. So I'm working on another project. And so the only thing I really asked of this guy was, hey, don't hit me at 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I have a job that supports like me, and I need that. I can't be distracted by something that doesn't pay me. And we had that conversation. We're like, cool, no worries.
Right.
It hits me up every day, 9 to 5. He's pushing my boundaries, which is the thing that's pissing me off. And I got a lot on my plate. And so for him to keep pushing is the part where I'm like, dude, chill.
He's not going to stop. He's going to hit you up all the time. The boundary for you, you're right. Some people don't respect them, don't follow them. That's true. For you, yes, it's frustrating and annoying and probably exhausting because you want to do well with him. You want to be attuned to him. I think having the real boundary is, instead of, hey, don't hit me up 9 to 5 because I have a job I have to focus on. I think it's from 9 to 5, I can't respond to you because I'm at a 9 to 5 job. You can text me all you want. I'm not going to respond. So if you don't hear anything from me until 5:30 or 6, that's because I was working all day.
Yeah, I like that because it gives me a lot more power. Still respectful.
Yeah.
It's not a fuck you, get out of my face. It's just here's what it is. Now let me flip this one on you because it kind of ties into it. So this kid, he was getting ready to go to the Teen Choice Awards. And so his mom had hit me up because they were in some financial trouble. And she was like, hey, like, I can't afford to go buy him an outfit. Is there any way you can get him ready for this award show? And I was like, of course, no worries. And the deal we made was, hey, you let him wear your clothes for the weekend and I'll let you use the house in Palm Springs. And I was like, oh, that's a great deal for sure. I would have done it without that, but definitely down. You know what I mean? Like, thank you. And so I was supposed to go out there last weekend, and then not even like an hour ago, I'm supposed to leave tomorrow morning. And she calls me and she was like, hey, turns out I rented the house to somebody else this weekend. My bad. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving tomorrow. That's very inconsiderate. And now I feel like you're disrespecting me. She was waiting for me to say, oh, it's okay, we'll go a different weekend. But I didn't say that. I was like, so what's the situation? Like, what do you need from me? And I'm helping her kid out a lot on a lot of different fronts. And I thought that we kind of had an agreement, and now she's going back behind it. And it's very frustrating. That's probably the most stressful thing of just, I almost feel like she's just lying to me for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, look, it could even trigger, I'm being taken advantage of. What I like in this is you going, wait, it's not just okay. It's no, that's messed up. That really screws up my plans. I was counting on this.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to figure it out for her. It's up to her to figure it out. You're looking at like, well, okay, what are you telling me?
Right.
Tell me. And let her be the one that has to say the bad news if it's going to be bad news. Let her be the one whose problem it is. I think you kind of holding firm to, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, it's okay. No problem. I'll go another weekend. Like, well, tell me definitively because I need to cancel plans. We were set to go out there.
So I rented a car. I got a photographer coming. You know, it's a lot more involved than just switch it up a little bit. And so, and that's the part that's so frustrating, pushing the boundaries. And it's just like, come on, like, when's enough enough?
Sounds like it is enough right now.
This kind of stuff makes me want to just be done with the whole thing. Yeah, it's just not fair.
She probably doesn't realize like what you kind of put in motion for the weekend, like to happen for you, for your line, for the things that you were working on. She might not know any of that.
Right.
Okay. She just thinks like, yeah, some kid wants to have a fun weekend out in Palm Springs.
If she would have just been like, hey, I'm hurting on money and I need them to rent this out, I really need the cash right now, I would have been like, totally okay. Like, that's a completely different situation than telling me, oh, I might have to make it cancel. I think it's the wording too of how she's going about it that's frustrating. And that's the part that kind of hurts. Because again, it's manipulative and it just hurts.
Yeah.
It goes back to my mom of she tells me one thing and does something completely different. And I'm right back there.
Yep. This is a theme. And we've talked about this before. I think what you're looking at is when there's a red flag, I can't ignore it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This might be a caution flag. Don't know. But the idea for you is I need a fucking green light flag or checkered flag or whatever the flag is where I just keep going. I'm looking for that in my life right now. And she is not showing me that. If we're going to do it as like some kind of arrangement or deal, you need to follow through and you don't get strike three.
Well, and I already feel like this is strike three because like other stuff has been happening throughout this last year and a half where it's just like, come on.
And look, if this is strike three and you're going, oh, come on, then the very definition of insanity, it's doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
She might change, but you're not going to wait around for that change. You're going to go, no, I need to be around the green flags. It's a bummer. Underlying is somebody let me down.
Right.
We have talked about this a lot. You can fail at one thing one time. You can be let down for one thing by one person. Doesn't mean everybody lets you down.
Right.
You're not going to call her bawling your eyes out. How could you, go back on your word? How could you do this to me? What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything. How can you act like this? I don't understand. That would be carrying it around with you and dumping it on the last straw that broke the back.
A year ago, that's exactly what I would have done. Yeah, absolutely. But now it's like there's bigger fish to fry. And I think the whole situation gets down to just the distrust there. That sucks.
It's a bummer because the more you are this new version of yourself, this different version of yourself, old versions and old friends go away.
Yep.
Well, they'll stay there, but we'll move away from them. And that's sad and I think empowering. It's both. We've talked about that too. Like some things are both. The part that shit is like, fuck, now I have to figure out what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Okay. And do I tell her like I'm pissed? You can.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you want to say, you can. It's not changing who she is or how she is. You don't even have to say, well, just want to let you know, friend, on his own now. Sorry. That's not your thing.
Right. Yeah, no, I know.
That's probably why you're laughing at that.
I feel like it sometimes, but no.
Right, because fuck you.
Right.
This isn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, not to go here, but you brought it up first, so I'll go there. Your mom.
Yeah.
There's a part of you, every time she relapses, that is screaming, fuck you.
Yep.
And we don't want to say that because we want to protect her. We want to protect our image of her. We want to protect ourselves. But that part is there.
Yep. I think another thing that just kind of hurt real bad this week, I was talking to my mom before I went and picked my shit up, my samples. She's like, oh, super excited. Like, show me when you get home. Call my dad, like, afterward. Super excited. Show me when you get home. I call him. Like, this is literally my first time showing my parents, like, my work of, like, what I've done. I think my mom was just stoned. I don't know. She was fucked up on something. And that shit hurt. That shit hurt really bad. I went right back to when I was graduating high school. I was walking down, like, my walk, and I look up to my parents, and my mom literally was falling out of her seat drunk. And so like she didn't remember me graduating. And so I'm like these big milestones in my life that I'm super excited to kind of share with them. Yeah. It's just
it's disappointing.
Very much so.
I mean, I give you a lot of credit because it's we've talked about this, being the son you want to be, is I'm going to share this stuff.
Right.
They're going to be the parent they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they have their own failings, big and small.
Mm-hmm.
Look, first and foremost, it's really disappointing and hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
Period. We can understand it. We can make it make sense. I don't think we're making excuses for it anymore.
No.
And, sometimes we'll be surprised and they'll be there. That'll be nice. But this is an old wound. And I think the biggest part is that you used to think it was your fault.
Yeah.
How much do you feel that now?
Not at all.
Not at all. You sure?
Yeah, I don't think the disappointment now is like, oh, look what I did to my mom. It's disappointment and damn, I wish she would remember this.
Yeah.
I don't know. This shit's important to me. And my dad cared. He doesn't like clothes at all. And like he was showing interest in like actually talking back to me and like having a full conversation. And like that was great. It just wasn't whole.
What do you mean?
I wanted to share that with both of them. It wasn't like I called my dad to show him and then I called my mom to show her. It's like I wanted to share that together, like all three of us. And like it ended up just being me and my dad. And like that was great. I love sharing that with my dad. And my mom wasn't there.
Yeah. It's not the family as you want family to look and sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's the family you've got.
Yeah. And I love them. It's just
It does. And I'm sorry. I really am.
Yeah.
You've heard me say it. Sometimes we just want mommy. And sometimes she'll be there and sometimes she won't.
Yeah.
It definitely stings, especially when there's something we're excited to share and we share it and we don't get that back.
Yeah.
Or they're not even present for it.
Right. A lot of kids that I know growing up got their pictures put on the fridge and praised even though it was a shitty drawing. And so I'm kind of relating that to this. I just feel like I never had my shitty drawing put on the fridge. I think that's what hurts right now.
Why?
I've always wanted my parents to be proud of me in that way. And not because I'm just their son, but because of like what I'm actually doing. I put a lot of time, I put a lot of work into this and they've helped me a lot along the way. And I wanted to kind of show the product of all of that work. And my dad cared for sure. And I'm not saying my mom didn't care because I don't know. It wasn't the reaction I wanted from my mom.
Yeah. It was almost the opposite reaction. Even if she hated it and said it, at least she would be there and present. I say it's the opposite because she wasn't even present.
Right.
And that's the abandonment. That's the distrust.
Yeah.
And that's the part that really stings and hurts.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to be back there.
Yeah. And it's a wound that's probably always going to be a wound.
Yeah.
We have to carry on knowing we have this wound. Believe it or not, the worst that's going to happen is sometime in this emotional sense and psychological sense is that she will seem to be present for something. And you will think, awesome, this is how I want it to be. This is great. I have the mom I want. And then if she won't be present,
mm-hmm.
How do we make sense of that? And it's going, oh, right, because this is just how she is.
Yeah.
And when she's present, it feels great. And when she's not, it feels horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but that's part of what you have for a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an illness.
Right. Yeah, no, I know. It's a nasty disease. It sucks.
Yeah. And it's your fault, right? Because you didn't do something good enough as a kid.
Right. No. Just shit.
Yeah.
It's very lonely, I think, too. Well, and I was trying to include girlfriend, baby, and all that too. And then kind of when I realized my mom was fucked up, I was like, oh, like, you should leave for a little bit. So like it was lonely there too, to where like I wanted like a big family, like look, it's a family experience. And now it really turned into me and my dad having a conversation, which again was great, but not what I wanted.
Let's roll the tape for a second. How would you want it to go? And clearly there's a version of how we want it to go with mom being present.
Yeah.
We're also going to take her out of it and still see if you can have it go the way you want it to go. So how would you want it to go? The family experience that you just talked about.
And I did have it for a second, for like the first little bit there when girlfriend was there. You know, she was holding up stuff and I was talking about it and my dad was asking questions and like, oh, so cool. What's this? What's that? And very interactive back and forth. That's all I wanted. I was distracted. I completely overlooked that aspect of the entire conversation because I was so focused on my mom not being there that I didn't take a step back and realize what was there. Then the other aspect of this is when I first started dating girlfriend, me and him had a conversation. His viewpoint on my girlfriends was that he's not going to get emotionally attached or involved until I'm married. And like, I get that. Like, okay, that kind of is always in the back of my head when she's there and I'm talking to him, because it almost makes me feel like it's not that he's not interested or doesn't want to know her, because I've talked to him about it. I think it's more so that he doesn't want to get emotionally attached, just in case. But that also sucks because then I don't want to bring her in.
I don't want to bring her in. Why?
Because I don't want to put him in a weird spot and I don't want her to get hurt.
I think, knowing you as I do, it's not, my dad's not going to get emotionally involved in my girlfriend, okay? But my dad is emotionally involved in me.
Right.
And my girlfriend might offer the opportunity to be emotionally involved and to show that I'm part of your son's life.
Right.
And even if she sticks around for a year and not 40 years, okay, how do you want to be for that year?
Right.
Or month?
Yeah, or a week.
The son I want to be, the guy in the family that I want to be, is the guy that does put on a show and shows you all this stuff and has her hold up stuff. Yeah, and this is cool, and this is how we want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if mom's nodding off or not making sense or not present, then maybe afterwards, part of your experience gets to be, oh man, such a bummer not to have mom there. And your girlfriend can respond to that.
Yeah.
And my dad was involved, or your dad was involved, and we were all there, and it was great. And I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
When you send her away, you rob yourself of that experience.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want him to be like that. I don't want her to be like that. We're trying to control everything.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and like the other thing too is I think I'm also worried of girlfriend seeing that side of my mom. And I don't think it's because of her. I think it's because of previous relationships of what happened. I think girlfriend has every Green Beret thing she needs to be able to do with this. It's so scary. And like, I've lost a lot of friendships because of what has happened with my mom. Right. And so I also think that I kind of pushed her out in that sense just so that she wouldn't see it because I was embarrassed about it.
So now I'm hiding something that I'm embarrassed of. I see you nodding.
Mm-hmm.
Finish the thought for me.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't be embarrassed about it because it's not my problem. It's my mom. It's on her. It's not me doing those things. It's not me nodding off. It's not me there not being present.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Nah, shit sucks.
Yeah. Is she going to like it?
Nah, shit sucks.
Right. So then have shit suck together. When you send her off because I'm embarrassed because I don't want her to see this and I'm protecting our relationship and I'm protecting her, I'm protecting everybody. Yeah, you're also damaging yourself.
Yeah.
Because that vulnerability that day one you said to me was a big part of who you are isn't coming out. That shell, that wall is what comes out.
Right. Yeah. And then I get grumpy and like I just get in a whole different mindset and it's just not fun.
Yeah. Because all those emotions get shoved down and they don't come up and come out. So they fester. And that's the shit that some people get anxious. Some people get stomach aches and have stomach issues. Some people have night terrors, like all this shit comes back up. And if you keep walking this route, we've talked about this before, where I'm not just open and saying this is how it is, where I'm trying to guard against all these things and protect these things. I wouldn't be surprised if some night terrors started coming back, because you're working so hard to protect everybody else's feelings. Yours take a back seat.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do not want to be there again. Yeah. I've been basically stoned since then too. It's crazy.
It's not crazy. It's very logical.
Yeah.
It's not the healthiest. It's certainly not the most direct.
Yeah.
But it's a coping mechanism.
It's not very productive.
No. I was extremely embarrassed and disappointed that my mom wasn't present for this thing. So I protected myself. My defense mechanism came out. I got really high. Mm-hmm. And the way we get through is something you did 6 months ago. Oh, I'm going to let myself feel this. I've never done this before. I've never actually allowed myself to feel what I'm feeling and let it come out. Your vulnerability is such an incredible strength.
Yeah.
And you sometimes realize it and sometimes forget it.
Mm-hmm.
This is an opportunity, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But we're compounding the suck by covering it up, whether it's with weed, sending somebody out, talking about it a certain way.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much that one situation until we started talking about it really affected me too. It's my whole week's been thrown off. And I didn't really realize why or kind of, I couldn't put my finger on it. It's what the fuck is going on? Yeah. And it makes a lot more sense now. Because that shit sucks.
I mean, 6 months from now, 6 months ago, if I told you somebody's going to say to you yo, I got this place in Palm Springs you can have for the weekend. You'd be like, sweet. Oh shit, fuck. That weekend, I actually booked it with somebody and it's going to be a huge moneymaker. Sorry. Dude, that sucks. Great, moving on.
Right.
Why we can't move on is because it carries more weight.
Yeah.
It's because there's more to it. It's because it just happened with mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's every time with mom. Then it's every time, everyone. Then it's always. Then it's everybody leaves. Everybody disappoints me. I can't trust anyone. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happens so easy.
Yeah, and quick.
That's the old trail.
Yeah, that's just scary.
Right. So let me just get high so it doesn't feel as scary. So maybe it'll be over soon.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're becoming the guy that when I go down, I will reach out for something I know is going to support me and steady me.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, I'm going to reach over there because I've got more than one.
Yeah.
And I will get steady. That's my strength. What do you think of that?
I love that. Well, right before I call my parents, I went over to a friend's house. So I got to show them. And that's my family. I felt what I needed to feel with him. It's just not my mom. But it was still a really good feeling knowing that, okay, well, if I'm not going to get it here, I can reach over here and still get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just blessed to have people like that in my life too.
That's finding my people. That's choosing my people.
Yeah.
My family of choice, not my family of obligation.
Right. Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
And we are back.
We sure are.
What did you think, Meredith?
Douglas, I thought that was fantastic. So many things that I can actually relate to, but the not funny part, just right off the bat, him talking about he's like, I'm so tired. Tired of working this 9-to-5 job that I don't want to be doing. And just, again, his radical acceptance of, okay, this is what I'm doing. Totally okay to be tired, even hate it if you want, but he said he doesn't hate it.
Right.
And just paying your dues. I think we talked about that before, just doing what you got to do.
Yep. And he said, my dream job, I know it's there. I know it's coming. I know I'm working towards it. I know it's happening. And yet here I am doing this thing and okay. And I'm tired. It's not like you have to go, my dream job's over there, and this is a bridge, which you mentioned, I think last week, being a bridge. This is a bridge that'll get me there, and it's okay. Okay, great. I feel fine. No, you can still really dread going to work. That 9 to 5. I mean, we've talked about this. Working the 9 to 5s. I mean, I remember alarms waking me up at 7 a.m. to get ready and get going. And it was just a slog to go to work every day. And for him, he is going to work. Not everybody is doing that this past year. And remember, it's beginning of the pandemic in these times. So he's just getting around to that, but it's tough.
And a lot of people do well with 9 to 5 structure, for sure. I mean, there's something about it that can be great. And whatever the hours are, it doesn't matter if, I think we're calling it a quote unquote 9 to 5 job as his job, not a career. But I think no matter what the hours are, if you really love what you're doing, or if you even really like it, it just makes a whole huge difference. You can still be tired, but you're not like, ugh, I'm tired. Fuck this. You're like, I'm tired and I feel fulfilled.
Right. Oh, I remember when I was working in music, get to work before 9 o'clock and you work a full day. And then if we had a show going on, one of our artists, like, or a band we wanted to see, like, you work all day and then you go to a show, but you're around the thing that you love. If that's what you love, it's what I loved for a long time.
Totally.
Not everybody loves what they do. Some people do, and it helps.
And some people don't care. It's fine.
Right. Were you ever at a desk job? Early days of computer. It wasn't like you can go on Facebook every day back when we were working the early 9 to 5s. I mean, this will date us severely. It was like when computers were coming out and it was just getting like solitaire on your computer was the big thing.
Oh,
and companies were like, we have to delete games from people's computers because they're playing too much solitaire or Minesweeper or whatever it would be.
Dude, I can't even imagine now. If I was a lawyer, when I was a lawyer, if all that stuff was around, I would have been probably a worse lawyer than I already was. I don't even know.
Well, everything that's around now. I mean, back then there were hardly any like AOL Instant Messenger, but now we have it everywhere.
Yeah. I got a little confused. He's talking about trying to set boundaries with the other guy that he's working with /for. Is this someone he's designing for, or that when he was talking about setting up the boundary of that when he says don't hit me up between 9 and 5, he does it all the time anyway? What was the deal with that? I was confused.
Yeah, so he's got the 9 to 5 job. That's one thing.
Right.
And then he's working on something with somebody else.
Okay.
He's psyched about that, but he's like, hey, I've got a 9 to 5, so don't blow up my phone because I can't pay attention to it. I can't really do anything, and I've got too much going on.
Right.
So back off a little bit. Give me space. Chill out.
Well, that was my question is, so he told him, don't text me or whatever, reach out between 9 and 5, and he keeps doing it. And then you said, well, what if you just like rephrase it to say, I can't respond to you during that. And if text me all you want, but I can't respond. Mm-hmm. And my thought is like, I don't know, is that better? Because if his phone keeps going off and he keeps having to look that it's this guy, but he doesn't respond, fine, but that's still distracting. And then at the end of the day, does he get 400 texts from this guy? For me, that's like second best. Ideally, he would really drive home the boundary of don't reach out to me during my workday.
That's not a boundary. That's a rule. When you say don't reach out to me, that's giving somebody a rule.
Okay.
And you give up the power because they're either going to follow the rule or they're not. You can't control how they're going to follow rules. You can only control how you're enforcing your own boundaries.
Right.
My boundary is I can't respond 9 to 5. So if you can blow me up, I'm not going to respond during the hours that I'm at my job.
Sure. But you could also say, I really would like you to not reach out to me between 9 and 5. If you continue to do it, even though I've asked you not to, I think it's really going to negatively impact our relationship. I get that that's maybe not in this scenario. So you set the boundary of what you want or don't want, right? You can't control if they do it or not, but you can certainly control the consequences of what happens, right? Like The boundary is you can't cheat on me. Okay, well, you might go ahead and do it anyway, but if you do, then we're breaking up.
Well, you can't cheat on me is a rule. I can't be with somebody who cheats is a boundary.
Right.
And if you cheat on me, I will no longer be able to be in this relationship. I will choose not to be in this relationship. So I'm working 9 to 5, and it would be great not to have my phone blow up with text messages and phone calls from you. If it keeps blowing up at some point, I might have to just bail on this or scale back because I can't do this. I can't have my phone blowing up while I'm working. That's not okay with me.
Right.
And then it's up to the other person to respect that boundary or not. But yeah, you enforce it and you kind of go, all right, well, they're not stopping. He's doing it all the time. And it was also him getting frustrated because he couldn't respond.
Right.
And that's on him. That's something for me and him to talk about. Like, feeling like I'm now obligated to respond and people please and take care of him. It's one of the hardest things for a people pleaser to not respond to somebody.
Yeah.
And have that be okay. Right. Some people will like text a bunch and they don't care if they hear from you right away or not.
Yeah. That's usually me.
Right. The receiver goes nuts.
Yeah. Well, and then that was sort of the next thing, right? Which was the fucking most bizarre thing. I'm like, okay, Teen Choice Awards outfit guy. But I mean, it just was like so random. And the whole thing with the mom in the house in Palm Springs. And I think I liked that he was able to respond without saying, oh, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Right. He sort of waited and was like, and so what now type thing, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I loved hearing that from him because he's describing it. And then he was like, she was probably waiting for me to say like, yeah, no problem. And it was a problem.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's like standing up for your boundaries. And that's why he made the link. And I love this again about therapy with clients, that when we do it this way is you look at one interaction that they're having with one person, whether it's work or somewhere else, and they'll see, oh yeah, that's how I react and that's how I relate to certain people. But then I look at somebody over here and I did it differently here, or I'm learning over here with this person. Right. It's really making all the connections. And hearing that from him was awesome. And he was, he was planning a shoot in Palm Springs. He had, rented a car, had a photographer.
Yeah,
his
that's
girlfriend
crazy.
ready. Like it was a whole thing that was going to happen. And it was like, I'm not just going to say that's okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And he said, and then just the whole thing of her being like, oh, sorry, I forgot. Where in reality, she probably booked it last minute because she needed money, which I get. And he was like, all she had to do was be honest with me and tell me that. But like, she's being manipulative. And so that reminds him of his mom. Mm-hmm. Started talking about not being able to ignore the red flags anymore, which we should all take a little lesson from him.
Well, and he's taking a lesson from him. I mean, he loves the baseball analogies because he used to play ball, saying, and that was strike three, like, right? And that's strike three, yet you're still there. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, if it's strike three, you're out. Go sit down. Somebody else is going to bat.
Ooh, look at that. It's a good analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said, I have bigger fish to fry. And you guys talked about how, I liked how you said new, and I just put a slash. I don't think you said slash, new and different version of himself. Because a lot of times people say, well, I just want to get back to my old self. And it's like, well, okay, sure. What does that even mean? New, different. It's sort of how we perceive it, because there's so much of our old selves that is just who we are, our core being, right? So it was talking about, though, like growing as a human version of himself, right? So it's kind of like you never just stop. It's always changing. But then the old version of him, of his friends, start to go away. And I not always talk about this with my clients, is we do all this amazing work and they start to change and grow and become healthier. And then all of a sudden they used to be the quote unquote IP, the identified patient in the family, of the relationship, or whatever. And then all of a sudden you start looking around and you're like, who the fuck did I surround myself with? Like, not that they're bad people. It's just like we start to change and want different things and healthier. And it's like you can outgrow people or whatever it is and start to attract different, more like-minded people into our lives. And you said it's empowering and it's sad. And I think that happens for a lot of people. And it's really difficult when it's your like lifetime partner.
Totally. Or a family member, like any of that stuff. And we did get to mom in a second. We will too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that idea, I think you're hitting it, which is we are hopefully constantly evolving as humans. Great.
Right.
And what we also recognize is there are new and different versions of ourself, and old versions of that self go away. And with that, old friends, old people we used to roll with and hang with, they're just not part of who we are now.
Yeah.
And that's tough and that's sad. And sometimes we can slip back into that or choose to go back into that, and it's cool.
Right.
And you can have different friends or different groups for different reasons. Absolutely. You don't have to go, nope, I've evolved. I can't hang out with those people anymore. Bye.
Totally.
Like, yeah, you can kind of go back and forth, but you're looking at what feels right. When he was talking about this kid's mom and like what's okay and what's not okay. And, when he said like, yeah, because fuck you, that's not fair. And he said it with a certain force. And of course, as his therapist, I'm listening for, what is this really about? What's really going on?
Right.
And that's where I'm like, oh, right. Telling you something and then going back on their word and changing it and changing the rules and switching it up. Who does that sound like? I think I even said it this way, like, yeah, there's a part of you that wants to say, fuck you to your mom.
Right.
Not literally her and how she is, but the situation and how she's acting and relapsing.
Yeah. And I was sitting there listening like, oh, Drew, so sad. Especially so the part about him wanting to show his designs and stuff to his parents and how his mom was like loaded and not present, not paying attention. And especially when he's like, yeah. And then he had his girlfriend and her kid there and we were holding up the clothes or whatever. And I was like, okay, that just broke my heart. It was so sad. And he talked about that even brought him back to the graduation where his mom was fucking fall down drunk.
Yep.
And she doesn't even remember him graduating. And it was so cute. He's like, even my dad even like listened and was interested. He doesn't even like clothes. I was like, oh. So cute.
Yeah. And something I highlighted for him too, which I love, is regardless of his mom being drunk or not, or being present the way he wanted to or not, he was present the way he wanted to.
Right.
The son that I want to be is the son that's going to go, hey guys, I'm excited about this. Check out these samples. Look, I'm sharing this with you.
Yeah.
What they do with it is up to them. He's still being him.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it won't be less disappointing. If it's disappointing, it's disappointing. And he'll feel that. And he did.
Totally.
And even being able to share it with somebody else is nice. And it was still disappointing that my parents together as a whole didn't have the reaction that I'd like, couldn't be present. Yeah, that kind of sucks. He's being the son he wanted to be, regardless.
Yeah, which is, I think, the best part. And you sort of looked back at that and said, well, you could have, or moving forward, maybe keep the girlfriend and her kid there and keep going through it. Just keep doing it and have them be a part of it. And then he can say later, like, God, that sucked with my mom. Obviously, he was embarrassed. And also we mentioned that he was so distracted by his mom not being present that it was hard for him to be present.
Yeah, he didn't want his girlfriend to even see that.
Yeah.
Right. And he was trying to protect everybody when the thing was, what about him feeling what he felt? And that was, giving that the space in the session was nice because he got to verbalize that. And it was even that idea that we talked about was he didn't care what the reaction was. He said that dad's not really into that stuff. And he was like, if mom was like, I think this stuff looks lame, whatever, like, fine.
Totally.
She's still present for that. It's not like she just left and checked out.
Yeah. And I think he so wittily, I just loved this analogy or phrase or whatever he said. Yeah, it's like a lot of parents put their kids' shitty drawings on the fridge. And he's like, I never had my shitty drawings put on the fridge.
Right.
And I was like, oh, dude, I'll put your shitty drawings on my fridge.
Right.
Like, so sad. Yeah. And you said, like, I'm so sorry. It's really fucking sad. You like gave him that space. And I think he's able to hear that and take it in. And you also said, which I loved, if you're with your girlfriend and shit sucks, like, it sucks. So have shit suck together.
Right.
Even though that may sound weird. I loved it. Right. Like,
yeah. I mean, at least that way we're in it together.
Right.
A big thing that drives him is not feeling alone and not feeling abandoned. Like, lonely sure, nobody likes feeling lonely and being alone. Sometimes
Right.
you and I have talked about this, Meredith. Like, I can be alone and not feel lonely. That's okay. But for him,
Right.
it's associated with abandonment, not good enough. He doesn't like that. He likes connection. Like having a best friend in LA and having good people in LA means a lot. Having a girlfriend that's there means a lot. Having parents that are there means a lot when they're there.
Right.
Even if things suck, even if you don't like it, yeah, at least it sucks together. That's what a big piece of this was for him, is feeling that not being alone in this. It's why
Right.
way back when he wanted to go out and do his own thing, he wanted his dad to be a part of it. Because his dad was, you remember this, you picked this apart when you heard it. His dad was his
Right.
best friend. You're like, no,
Yeah.
he's your dad.
Yeah, totally. And then he said towards the end, talking about, and then what happens with something like this is that then he gets grumpy because, I just like the word, but then he gets grumpy because his emotions, are shoved down. He's not talking about it.
Right.
And I think you said you're compounding the suck.
Right.
And that's, again, the same thing. It's like, okay, if it sucks, maybe have it suck with someone else. Or if it sucks, like, don't compound it, which is when we talk about a lot of things in DBT, we're talking about how can we make it not worse? Not necessarily how can we make it better.
Right.
But if you're compounding the suck, you're just making it worse.
Yeah.
Maybe whatever you're going to do isn't going to make it better, but hopefully it won't make it worse. And that's a lot of times, how do I fix it? How do I make it better? I don't know, but I can promise you, I can tell you that this XYZ, what you're doing is making it worse. So what if we find something where you just don't make it worse?
Well, and it's tough because sometimes the things that will make it not worse are things that are uncomfortable. And
Totally.
we move away from the discomfort, so we don't do those things. And that's when we compound the suck.
Right.
I think, I don't remember exactly, but I think I was saying that in reference to wanting his parents to recognize his girlfriend as here's somebody in his life.
Right.
And wanting to have that. And I would love them to be emotionally involved in my life. They don't need to be emotionally involved in her, but they need to recognize this is my life and this is who I'm with right now. But when you move from the discomfort of they're not going to embrace her or that I have a girlfriend, so I'll move away from that.
Right.
Now it sucks even more. And there's more bummer.
Yeah.
That you just brought on and didn't realize it because you were doing something you thought was protective.
Well, and I totally get the thing of the dad. It's actually the reverse for me. Well, I don't know if it's the reverse, but I don't bring someone around my family unless I'm thinking that it's going to be something because,
right.
Yeah, I don't want them to get attached, but I also, it's like you bring them on the roller coaster ride or then they're like, how's it going? You're like, we broke up. Fuck you. It's just, so I think it's just depends.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll hear it the other way where people go, oh, there's another one of her boyfriends. Like,
exactly.
I'm not going on this roller coaster ride, whatever. Just tell me when it levels off. Like, are y'all going to get married? And do I have to pay attention? Should I learn this one's name? I'm like, oh man,
right.
What he was doing was that protective mechanism. And I called it a coping mechanism, right? Where we're actually trying to control for other people's reactions and feelings. And by virtue of doing that, we're not true to our own. We're robbing ourselves of being present for something.
Totally.
Even if being present means being uncomfortable or being disappointed, like, hey, here's who I'm dating now. Here's their name. Yeah, okay. Well, that's disappointing, but I'm true to myself. I'm saying this is what it is. It's hard because we place so much stock in what people think about us and what people say about us, especially our families.
Right. Well, and it's easier said than done, I think, just acknowledging for a lot of people. It's like religiously, culturally, whatever. Oh, turns out I'm gay. Here's my girlfriend. And your parents are like, we're going to disown you. Right. Like, so there's certain things I think in those situations, I imagine it's got to be very difficult to just be like, well, here they are. Take it or leave it. I'm staying true to myself.
Right.
Even though I'm sure it would feel better to be able to do that.
Sure. And it might, but it won't feel better in the moment because it's uncomfortable because of how other people react and how other people are. And that's when I said, well, and that's probably why you go to weed. Because if I'm smoking weed, then I can deal and I don't care. And then it's fine. Like, well,
And he really pointed that out.
Yeah. that's something that I'm never going to say to him, well, smoke less weed and maybe you shouldn't be high. Like, I'm letting him recognize these things and I'm pointing things out as they come up. I think I even said to him when something was getting scary, like, yeah, so I'll just get high. And he's like, yeah, that way it doesn't feel as scary. Like, right. Well, maybe you want something else. He's like, yeah, I do.
Right.
Seeing that for him and letting him come up with those realizations. I'm just pointing out what he's given me. We talk about him finding his people and choosing his people. In a sense, he's choosing himself too. He's choosing his best self.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the self that is pretty open about, here's who I'm with, here's what I'm doing, here's how I feel about that. Being able to bring that out, like, yeah, this is me. Here I am.
Yeah, completely. It's amazing to watch the growth, Drew. You're freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's partly why I love my job. Like, he's really doing great work. And if you've been with us since the beginning, you've really gotten a sense of, we're a year into his therapy now. And this is like, I think almost a year in, close to a year into his therapy at this point.
Yeah.
The growth is amazing. Who he is now versus who he was a year ago. And fast forward, because I'm still working with him and I'm a year later.
Yeah.
So just think of where he is going to be a year from what you're hearing. It's awesome. It's incredible. To me, that's the journey of therapy and why I love what we do.
Amen, brother.
Yep. Indeed. And I love doing this. I love bringing this to you guys. And that's something we'll continue to do
forever and ever.
Right. Love hearing from you guys. If you've got thoughts, feelings, comments about the episode, find us there's the Facebook group where we've got discussion threads for every episode. If you go onto Facebook, search for Your Mental Breakdown, we'll come up, look for the group, join in, and join us again next week.
Okay. That sounds great, Doug.
I almost sound like a professional pitch there.
I know. That was great. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.